let's start seated. So we'll just find a nice comfy seat. And we'll find a way to soften into our breath here. Just being as at ease as is possible for you in the moment. Maybe you let the eyes close. Maybe you pay particular attention to how the breath is entering and exiting the body through the mouth or nose. High steward was alone in the dining hall, placing silverware on the table. Every few rounds of breath, he'd hear and feel the percussion of large explosions outside the castle. The next time that you exhale, let's let our chin fall down to our sternum. And as the chin tucks here, just allow for a little lateral sway of the head, so that you're just feeling the musculature along and supporting the cervical spine. Just experiencing some movement in this full flexion state. And then eventually we'll bring our head, chin to neutral, lift our head back to a neutral alignment. And exhale, let your head turn towards the right. And when you get here, just allow the chin to bob up and down a little bit. And then we'll relax back to neutral. And let your chin tuck to the sternum. And this time just allowing for a static settling. And then we'll lift our chin back to neutral. And let's exhale the chin to the left. When you get here, we're just going to go back to that little gentle nodding motion. Just enough movement to allow the musculature supporting the cervical spine to feel. And then we'll relax back to neutral and tuck your chin to your sternum. And just a little static settling once again. Just finding our way into a space where we're at ease. And let's inhale our chin to neutral, head to neutral, and then we'll lift the chin towards the ceiling or sky. And when you get here, a little lateral sway. And here we're likely experiencing some anterior cervical spine musculature. A less activated set of musculature, so the intensity could potentially be more here. And then eventually chin to neutral, head to neutral. Big, full inhale breath. Nice, deep exhale breath. Settle back into your seat. Let the eyes close here and just land here. Just feel how the cervical spine and skull are resting upon the spinal column stack. And just let your body be as at ease as is possible for you. Once again. And we'll give ourselves just 30 more seconds just to feel into this space we've landed in. And then when it feels appropriate for you, let's let the eyes open if they are closed. Take our right hand over to our left thigh and let the left hand just find its way behind you. Wherever the left hand lands comfortably is perfect. It could just be reaching, it could be grounded, it could be on your hip, but we're just looking to rotate towards that left side. And at the same time, feel some anchoring on that right side, maybe even accessing that medial edge of the right thigh. And then relaxing back to neutral. And really ensuring that the spine comes all the way back into a neutral stack. It's easy to stay just slightly tucked towards that left rotation. Make sure the shoulder girdle balances out to neutral. And then let's do the same thing, second side. Left hand to right thigh. Right hand finds a place where it's comfortable, wherever that is. We get this big, full spinal rotation. Just feeling into what is available to us this morning. And when you feel balanced left to right, we'll come back to neutral. Once again, just make sure the shoulder girdle comes back to align with the hip girdle so that the spinal column stack rebalances. And then let's extend our legs out in front of us for a little staff. As you align yourself in the staff, let's sweep the arms up and overhead and just feel that extension of the spinal column that comes with that. And then exhale into that extension into a flexion fold. Remember, the knees can bend here. And that bending the knees may be the most beneficial adjustment we can make. Want to ensure that the most that we access as much of the posterior chain as possible, right? So if everything's limited to our hamstrings or everything's limited to our high calf insertion, then how do we tweak the knee bend? How do we offer slack to the system so that more of our posterior chain can be involved in the fold? And we'll just give ourselves about another 60 seconds here. So as these thunderous booms from these explosions outside the castle vibrate through the dining hall and through this High Steward's chest cavity, he continues around the table, setting down each salad fork, knife, and soup spoon. last big inhale here. Nice full exhale here, finding any last available space. And then we'll bring our torso back up to vertical into staff. Let's take one of our blankets or towels and fold that from a shelf fold to a hot dog fold. And let's stay right there. So this is going to be a nice little piece. Have your other blanket or towel and your ball handy. And then we're going to lower ourselves onto our back. And as you come onto your spine here, feel the impact of that fold. We did about 90 seconds. And you may already feel like there's a lot going on in the posterior chain that's providing feedback as you land here. Kind of listen to that feedback, and as the signal starts to dissipate, as you become more and more acclimated to this neutral alignment on your spine, when you feel like you've integrated the changes we've made thus far, let's lift our belt line high enough to just slide that folded blanket prop underneath us at the sacrum for a little supported bridge. Kind of a half block supported bridge here, maybe even less depending on the density of your blanket or towel. Arms here can be at cactus or T or by your side. But offering openness to the chest cavity. Really try to feel your full cycles of respiration here. Let your body just be open to not only the support beneath you, but the nourishment of the breath of the respiration through each cycle. And we're going to give ourselves about another 60 seconds just to receive our breath. And then when it feels appropriate for you, bend our knees if they're not bent. Kneecaps point towards the ceiling, toe mounds, heels connected to the mat. We'll lift our belt line high enough to slide our prop out from underneath us. And we're going to take this prop from its current hot dog fold and just fold that in half one more time so we end up with a block-like approximation, and we'll place that in between our knees. The goal here is to create enough density between the knees that you have roughly a 2-fist distance kind of block support. So if changing the orientation of the prop provides that more accurately, just figure the orientation that will best serve you here. The other blanket may or may not come in handy, but let's have it from a shelf fold to a hot dog fold. So it's just available to us. And then we're going to let both knees fall to the left. Now, if you get into this twist and it feels like you're putting too much torsion energy on the lumbar, take your second blanket and just slide that underneath the lateral edge of the left thigh. So you take off a little bit of that torsion requirement or that torque requirement. If you feel like you have room, you can take that blanket out and just land. But we're looking for roughly a hip stack, and we're trying to keep the hip positioning orientated so that we maintain this relatively neutral hip girdle without limiting our capacity for rotation. So just think about the lumbar rotating to its full capacity, whatever that is, and then think about maintaining this really nicely aligned hip girdle. Outside the dining hall, it's not just explosions that are going on. People are fleeing not only the city, but the castle. Hours before, the royal family themselves had been ushered out under the secrecy of night. And the High Steward was aware of all of this. And yet, in this moment, he took a stack of napkins and began folding them into little swans. As he started this process, he could hear the castle itself being seized. The grand entryway being breached. and the shouts from the royal guard became quieter and quieter over time. Eventually, in what now were very empty castle hallways, he heard footsteps and doors being kicked in. And as he was folding his last swan napkin, the door to the dining hall was kicked in. As that happened, the leader of this revolutionary guard burst through the archway, followed by a few men. And the high steward stood up, not with any sort of swiftness. And he started walking around the table, placing the napkins at each setting. This revolutionary guard raised his sword and raised his voice and screamed at this high steward. Old man, the king has fled the castle. The royal guard is dead. Your city's been reduced to ashes. Why are you not on your knees begging for your life? Last 60 seconds here on this first side. Really feel into that lateral edge, the left side of your body, as it is connected to your props or the floor or the mat. Feel into where the breath is most expansive in your lungs and where it is the most restrictive. When it feels appropriate for you, let's bring our knees back to neutral. And we'll take our prop out from between our knees and place that to the side for a moment. And let your legs extend down the mat. Give a little energy towards the medial line so that the inner edge of your thighs, your calves, your heels, toe mounds come as close together as they can comfortably find their way to. And just feel that line of middleness here. Then keep that energy down your medial line as you bend your knees. Let the toe mounds and heels come to the mat. Let the thighs press together as comfortably as they can. Lift your belt line just an inch or so and move the tailbone to the left as far as you have access to. Then we'll extend the legs back down the mat. We have a little bit of an off-centered torso alignment, and we're going to walk our heels over to the right corner of our mat so that we can reconnect that medial line pressure. Bring your hands behind your head and interlace your fingers here. And then just work that head over towards the right corner of your mat, the upper right corner of the mat. And so we have some bowing sensation along the left side of the body here. We want to make sure that our hips are staying neutral. Having that little medial squeeze can assist in that. We just want to be at ease. As you respirate here. The high steward does not look back at the revolutionary who shouted this question to him. Instead, he picks up a knife and he picks up a spare napkin and starts polishing the knife. And then without changing his gaze from the knife, he says, because dinner is to be served at 8 o'clock and the table is not ready yet. When it feels appropriate, let's bring our head back to middle mat alignment and then bring your legs back to middle mat alignment. Let your body just decompress here. And then we'll bend our knees, grab our prop, place that back between the knees, and let the knees fall to their second side, the right side. Let the sternum be open once again. Let your respiration be open. Remember that you can use that second prop for an additional propping structure that takes some of the sharpness off of the twist. And then we'll just land our way back into rotation side 2. Maintain that neutrality with the hip girdle. And so as this high steward notes the 8 o'clock dinner time, this revolutionary and the men with him all burst out into laughter. Revolutionary shouts again, "Old man, did you not hear me? The castle is empty. The guards are dead. The royal family has fled. There is no dinner tonight. In 5 minutes, I'm going to cut off your head." The high steward looks back, this time raising his eyes and meeting the gaze of this revolutionary. And he stares into his eyes with this crystalline, piercing look and says, "That may be true. But until that happens, I am to ensure that this dinner and this dining room are as optimal, exceptional, and nutritious as can be." And then he takes that knife that he's been polishing and places it back down at the setting. The revolutionary raises his sword. And as he does this, mud from his jacket sleeve falls off onto the dining room floor, dining hall floor. And the high steward sees this happen. And he stares at the mud as it splatters on the floor for quite some time. And this revolutionary is holding this sword above his head, and he's expecting this man to scream. The high steward raises his glare from the mud back to the man's face, and he says, "Sir, if you are going to be the head of this household, you're going to need to hand me your jacket, because we do not wear outerwear in the dining hall." And he extends his arm. To receive the jacket. And this revolutionary, more or less instinctively, lowers the sword, takes off his jacket, and hands it to this high steward. Who walks out of the dining hall with the jacket, hangs it in the coat room. Comes back in, and he tells the men to sit down, takes the rest of their jackets, hangs them in the coat room. And obediently, they all sit down. The high steward fills each of their glasses with water, and then clears his throat and says, "Gentlemen, if you are going to eat in my dining hall, you're going to need to keep your elbows off the table. You're going to need to ensure that you don't slouch. And for God's sakes, in the future, ensure that you do not drag mud into this room. And then he turns, and as he's walking out the doorway, he says, I shall return with your soup. Just check in with that lateral edge, your right side of your body. Ensure that the hip girdle is as neutral as can be, that there are no tweaks or adjustments that need to be made with your propping or your positioning of your thighs. The sternum is as open and receptive as it can be to your breath so that you have as much fluidity in your respiration cycles as is possible. We'll give ourselves roughly 60 more seconds on this second side. When it feels appropriate, we'll bring our knees back to neutral. Take our prop out from between them and extend the legs down the mat. As the legs extend, give yourself that ability to land, to realign, to reacclimate. And then when you feel like you have, let's give that little medial line squeeze so that the thighs come together, so that the calves come together, the toe mounds and heels come together. Not necessarily that they're touching, but that they are as close together as we can comfortably get them. And then we'll bend our knees so the toe mounds and heels can come in contact with the mat. Lift our belt line and slide our hips as far to the right as is accessible for us. And then extend our legs back down the mat. And heel toe the feet over to the left. Hands come behind the head, and we'll take that head tilt over towards the upper left corner. And we feel the lateral edge, the right side of our body expand. as the meal progressed. The head steward brought out course after course. And delivered correction after correction to the men seated at his table. At the end of the night, he walked them through the archway over top of a kicked-in doorway or door. And before he wished them a good night, he said, I ensure that you will have someone come and repair my door before the end of the day tomorrow. And then he tipped his hat and went back into the dining hall to clean up. When it feels appropriate, we'll bring our head back to neutral. We'll bring our knees back to a bent position, realigning our body at neutral. And once again, just allow for the time for a reacclimation of what we've done, what we've shifted, what we are in this moment. And then let's engage our ball and one of our blankets, looking for little cervical spine taco adjustment. So ball is just going to go into a folded blanket or towel, and that's going to come behind us and underneath the cervical spine. Let's have our knees bent here so that the torso can be as slacked as possible, as at ease as is possible. Arms can be cactus T or by your side. And we're not going to do anything else other than just allow the respiration to travel through our throat and feel how the ball is impacting the structure of the cervical spine here. We will not be here for a super long time, but enough to feel the adjustment land in our body and to use the space we've created. Last 30 seconds here. when it feels appropriate. Let's pull the blanket out from underneath us. Let our head come back down to neutral. Land here. And then just ask yourself if there's anything you want, anything you need, anything that you could benefit from prior to Shavasana. If there is, let's offer that to our body now. If you have everything you need, if you have everything you want, if you are ready for some stillness, then let's offer our body a shape where we can appreciate just that. So the kingdom changed hands that day. And this revolutionary changed that day as well. He became the leader of this kingdom. And from that day on, until his final day, he would tell the story of this day to anyone who would listen. Just finding our full ease and stillness here in Shavasana. bring some movement into our fingers and our toes. Just allowing those digits to move through the space around you. Let that movement expand up into your wrists and your ankles, to your elbows and your knees, up through your shoulders, your hips. Let your lumbar move, your thoracic move, your cervical spine move, your head, your jaw, your eyes, your tongue. Eventually, the whole body can move and explore the space around you. And then we'll utilize that movement to transition our way from a prone position to a seat. And in this seated space, spine gets tall, breath gets fluid, eyes closed. And so when this revolutionary turned king would tell the story of this day, he never told the story of the great battles he won or the explosions in the city. He never told of breaching the castle walls or the castle door. He told the story of how he was defeated by a man armed only with a napkin, because it was the most lasting impression of that day. With your next inhale, we'll bring our hands together at heart center. Over the course of the next 7 days, can you remind yourself that while the world may determine where you stand, you and you alone can determine how you stand, and see how that impacts your experience. Thank you so much for being a part of this morning's practice and for being you. Namaste.